Hello ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. I know Parfums de Marly has been pretty hard at work this year. First they came out with Kalan, which is a women's offering. Then they came out with Sedley, which is a bright, fresh, minty sort of offering that I absolutely love, composed by Olivier Cresp. And here we have the latest release from the company, and this one is called Kalan. I'm excited to tell you what I think of this brand new release, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin the video, I do want to disclose that this bottle was sent to me for review by the company, but as always, all opinions will remain my own. This is not a sponsored post, but the bottle was provided to me for free. I would also like to mention that if you are new to this channel, I would love it if you could support what I do by clicking that red subscribe button in the corner. But of course, please wait until the end of the video to do so that I can provide value first. There's also going to be a giveaway attached to this review for a full bottle for the continental US. The only thing you need to do to enter the giveaway is just leave a comment down below, come back to this video in 1 week's time, and the winner's comment will be pinned to the top of the comment thread. So this is a 2019 release. I don't have the perfumer for this one. I've actually first got my nose on this one many months ago. I remember attending the Kalan event, which was earlier on this year, and the founder of the company, Julian Sprecher, was there, and he brought both this one and Sedley. I had the opportunity to try both. This one I remember really enjoying because I do have a sweet nose, so I tend to gravitate towards gourmand fragrances. This one is not overly sweet, and we'll discuss that at length a little bit further on in the review, but I remember this one really lasting on the test strip that he provided me with. And so I'm so excited to tell you what I get from this one in terms of the smell, but let's go ahead and start things off by taking a very quick and close look at the presentation. So the box for this fragrance just has the Parfums de Marly crest towards the top. It's embossed in there. And then you have the name of the fragrance towards the bottom. And of course, this one follows a red and silver color palette. The bottom of the box has a serial number printed in black ink on the top left-hand corner just above the UPC. And the back of the box just has some information about the company. The Parfums de Marly crest may also be located on the very top of the box. The bottle has this really nice red finish. It's almost like a matte finish. The bottom of the bottle has a sticker with the serial number printed on it in black ink if you're looking to authenticate your purchase, and it should coincide with the one found on the box. The cap for this fragrance clicks into place very securely. You can pick this one up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer is nice and wide. Let's continue with the smell. Now, as soon as this fragrance opens up, the first thing that you're going to notice is how loud and potent it is. However, I don't find it to be challenging or abrasive or aggressive or anything like that. And I say that because whenever I think of aggressive perfumes, some of the ones that come to mind are like Black Afghano by Nasamato. I'm also reminded a little bit of Black Tourmaline by Olivier d'Urbano, Heretic Parfum Poltergeist. Those are really challenging fragrances, even Interlude Man to a certain extent. This one, on account of a lot of the sweet elements that are utilized, especially in the base, it doesn't really come across as challenging or anything like that. It is an addictive smell, and it's a bit of a unique and novelty smell. And I say that because there's an ingredient in here. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's not listed in the note breakdown, but my nose picks up on what could possibly be mastic oil. So in Greek, we call it mastija. It's a type of gum or a resin or a sap that comes from a tree. It's used in a lot of desserts, and it's also used to make chewing gum. And I'm very familiar with it from my childhood. Not saying that I love this fragrance so much because it contains that note, but you know, I think I did certainly pick up on something similar to that. And there's only one other fragrance to my recollection that I've smelled that utilizes such an ingredient and produces a similar olfactory profile, and that is Indigo by Magnetic Scent, which is now called Baruti. So this one has a little bit of like that sappy resinous vibe in here, but it very quickly becomes this lavender orange blossom combination. Now, I don't think that the lavender that's utilized in here is overly strong to the effect that this one sort of becomes like a barbershop fougere kind of a fragrance. And I don't think that the orange blossom in here is strong enough that it sort of overwhelms the sweeter elements of the composition. I do think that through and through, this is a gourmand fragrance because that sweetness is really amplified tenfold. It's not a gourmand in the sense of like a cotton candy or overly vanilla heavy perfume, but you do have that roasted tonka bean thing going on in the base that kind of makes it reminiscent of other sweet fragrances. I know I've already heard or seen some other comparisons to Baccarat Rouge 5 540. In my personal opinion, if you look to my right and my left, these are all fragrances that smell 10 times more like Baccarat Rouge than Kalan by Parfums de Marly does. I've actually done a side-by-side of this one, the original and the Extrite version, and I personally don't get a connection. Perhaps if you wait until the very dry down, there's something about that sweetness that can kind of put you in that same frame of mind, but I also think that the red bottle has a lot to do with influencing your subconscious. Every time you say pineapple, you think of Aventus, right? So I think that there's certainly a little bit of that subconscious association going on at play here, although I am agreeing in the base, it does actually remind me a little bit of the sweetness of Baccarat Rouge 540, but ultimately this is a very different fragrance. It's much more powerful. It does have the lavender, the spices, the orange blossom in here. Yes, there are some woods, but they're completely suffused and overwhelmed by the sweeter elements in the dry down. So I'm having a hard time classifying this as a woody fragrance. Overall, I find this to be very sweet. It's very strong. It lasts a long time. It kind of goes in the direction of some of the old school Parfums de Marly fragrances, which I really seem to enjoy. So if you're a fan of like Herod and Owajan and Godolphin and some of those heavier, richer, more potent fragrances, I would encourage you to go out there and try Kalan for yourself and let your own nose be the judge. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. First up, in terms of the uniqueness in the overall smell, I do find this fragrance to be rather unique, despite the fact that the sweetness has reminded some people of other fragrances that could potentially utilize a similar sweet dry down. And of course, the roasted tonka bean is ultimately what is contributing to that sweet undertone. I think in terms of the overall smell, just because it opens up very loud and very powerful, it could potentially turn some people off. But if you wait just 5 to 10 minutes for this fragrance to dry down, the dry down is really nice and enveloping, and I think the sweetness will really lure people in, and I quite enjoy this one for that reason. In terms of the longevity, this one is killer. On my skin, I got 8+ hours. The projection on this one is crazy for the first 2.5 to 3 hours, and then it does start to sit a little bit closer to the skin, but not really fully becoming a skin scent until about the 7 to 7.5 hour mark, and I was still able to smell it the entire day. This one will get me through my workday. In terms of the versatility, I do find it to be compromised somewhat. I think that this is a cold weather fragrance. I think it's perfectly unisex, despite the fact that some people might smell it and it's in their masculine bottles, but I do think that this one is unisex. In terms of social scenarios, I would wear this one dressed up. One, because of the price, but two, because of the potency of the smell. This is probably not the type of fragrance that I would wear on a casual basis. And in terms of the presentation, I love the red bottle. I mean, for the past few years, I was wondering if and when they were going to come out with a red bottle, and it's finally here. So my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are a fan of sweet fragrances, but you don't want a sweet fragrance in the sense of it being like a vanilla-driven scent, cotton candy-driven scent, cinnamon-driven scent, cherry-driven scent. I recently reviewed House of Sillage #1. That one has a burst of cherry in the opening. If you want something that has a combination of other notes, it's definitely different and unique, all the while possessing a bit of a sweet smell, I would recommend that you go out there and try this one. I think that this is a worthwhile addition to the Parfums de Marly lineup, and I'm so happy to have a bottle in my collection. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your viewership. This was my review of Kalan by Parfums de Marly. If you own or have tried this fragrance, I would love to know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos. If you are new to this channel, I would really appreciate your support. All it requires is you clicking that red button in the corner. So this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it'll get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. And of course, that includes fragrance reviews just like this, top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, interviews, live vlogs, and a whole lot more. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.